I sold my Black Bay 58, but I had good reason for it. Welcome to Wrist Swap, I'm Harrison. Today I want to talk about the Black Bay 58, overall thoughts, feelings, and why I had one and I ended up selling it. So the one I'm going to show here is the navy blue version on the metal bracelet. What I had owned originally was a black version, also on a metal bracelet. And I kind of want to talk through the things about the Black Bay 58 that I loved and the things that I would tweak that might have made it stay in my collection. All right, so the Black Bay 58, everyone talks about it. I'm not trying to hype up the Black Bay 58. I just want to talk about my experience. What I've typically found with watches that are really hyped up is sometimes they miss the mark. So the Black Bay 58 was a watch that I really wanted as soon as it came out and everyone was talking about it. And whether or not I was led by the hype or because I actually liked the watch itself, I don't know. But I ended up buying the black version of it on a metal bracelet and I wore it for probably about 9 months. And while the watch has a lot of magic, it really does, and most of that having to do with how it wears, it missed the mark for me. So wearability, I'm gonna just throw the specs up there. Everyone knows what they are. 39 millimeters, it's under 12 millimeters thick. Also an in-house or Kinesi movement, depending on if you consider that in-house with Tudor. If you've worn a 40 millimeter Rolex case, either vintage or all the way up basically until they hit the maxi cases, the wearability and the feeling of it on the wrist is gonna be really similar. It's gonna feel really flat and the case back is gonna kind of dip into your wrist. And so you'll kind of see a little bit of that slab of the case side, and then it's gonna obviously be the sapphire on top of that. It's just gonna wear nice. And I can't argue that. It really does wear great. The bezel action is fantastic. The look with the red pip at the top is beautiful. I really liked the gilt dial, even though I'm not a very flashy person. That little bit of color or warmth to the dial was something I really enjoyed. I wore it to Miami on a trip to Miami after I first got engaged. I actually bought it for my engagement. It arrived late, so I was going to be wearing it when I got engaged, and it was supposed to be like a I give her the ring, I have the watch kind of thing, but it missed. It showed up, I think 2 or 3 days later. That's when I finally got it. So it was like a delayed gratification for the engagement, and maybe it lost that special element, and so that's why I kind of never thought of it the same way, but either way. So I sized it up for my wrist, I put it on, and I loved it. It fit like a glove. I loved it. I wore it. I put it on NATO straps. I put it on leather straps. I put it on just about every strap that I had in my house at the time. And every time I did, I found that it just didn't look right. And maybe I didn't find the right pairing for it, for the dial and the watch. And a great example of that is when I had my Omega Speedmaster originally. I didn't find the right pairing until I got a Tropic rubber strap and put that on it. And then I really loved the watch. And sometimes that's what's necessary. But for me, I kept putting it back on the bracelet because that was the best option that I'd put it on and I really liked. But the problem with the bracelet for me wasn't the rivets on the side. I don't care if it's got rivets on the side. It doesn't make a difference to me. But it was the look of the 3 links when you looked at it from basically front on. When you look at an oyster style bracelet, like right here, when you look at an oyster style bracelet like this, what you'll see is obviously the different 3 links here. And, you know, it looks nice. You know, the light reflects off it really nicely. And for me, I had really gotten used to the 3 links and the oyster style bracelet of my Rolex Explorer. And so when I wore the Black Bay 58, something just looked off. It was the lines that were the end caps for the rivets on either side, or the faux rivets on either side. And it kind of took away from the sleek look of a traditional oyster bracelet. So it wasn't really the rivets that threw me off, but those lines on either side of the bracelet, that's kind of what ended up putting the nail in the coffin for the bracelet for me. And because I didn't have anything I liked wearing it on, it kind of dropped it in my overall thoughts about the watch. The other thing that never really clicked with me was the snowflake hands with the circle indices, and that was mainly just an overall appearance thing. I would look at it and something about the dial seemed off. I like square markers with the snowflake hands. Geometrically, I think it looks better. the dial itself just didn't work for me, and I never figured out why. And then I held a Pelagos, and I put them next to one another, and I noticed that the text on the dial for the Pelagos was higher up. It was more symmetric with the text that's written at the bottom. Whereas with the Black Bay 58, it looked like everything was kind of like the top was hugging the center pinion too much, like it wasn't quite symmetric. And maybe that's what bothered me. I've never really figured it out, but I did notice that, and I didn't like that as much. Not a huge thing, again, but it was something that kind of bothered me when I had this last one in for review. So between the square markers, the bracelet adjustment system, the removal of the rivet sides on the bracelet, and the shorter 12 o'clock indice to move the text up, and the square markers, I've basically just described a thinner Pelagos. So what that told me when I was looking at this navy blue version was that the Black Bay 58 is just not the watch for me, because all I'm doing is trying to find the things that I like about it and wanting to change, and I'm basically turning it into another watch that Tudor already offers, although a little thicker. And so that's why the Black Bay 58 isn't the right fit for me. I know a lot of people that I have talked to, both online and in person, that have wanted one, have worn one, and eventually have sold one. I know a lot of other people that have also kept theirs, and it'll probably be a staple of their collection for a long time to come. I feel like a lot of these watches that are really hyped up, we kind of keep hearing about them or keep watching reviews about them. And I'm just as guilty of this as everyone. And we'll keep seeing these things, and so then we'll tell ourselves, well, that's the right watch for me. Right? All these people have liked it, and you keep hearing all this information about how great it is and how well it wears and how vintage design and great value for money and all this other stuff. And so then you end up wanting to get one. And then you buy it, and then you're left to yourself to make your own impressions. Now, some of us will go back and watch those reviews again to reaffirm our purchase, and I have done that, right? But what I think is important is when you're in that buying process, try as much as possible to wear the watch repeatedly in a store, because I think most of these stores are starting to keep something at least like that case style, or you go to a pre-owned store if you have one nearby, and just try it on and then wait. The best advice I've heard from any watch YouTuber has been to wait and just think about it. So that's kind of why I sold my Black Bay 58. I had things that bothered me, it wasn't the right fit, I found another piece I liked more, and so it kind of just left. Have you guys had a similar experience? Is your Black Bay 58 staying in your collection forever? Do me a favor and subscribe, drop a like, talk to me down in the comments. I usually try and respond and give an idea and like to hear what people's experiences are, because it helps me just as much as it helps you guys. So I'll see you guys in the next video. Till then, take care.